This is Coffee with God, and let us begin this day with the Word of God.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke, chapter 6, verses 12 to 19. The passage is taken from the Message version of the Bible. Jesus departed to the mountain to pray, and he spent the night in prayer to God. When day came, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, Simon, who was called a Zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. And he came down with them and stood on a stretch of level ground. A great crowd of his disciples and a large number of the people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the coastal region of Tyre and Sidon came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. And even those who were tormented by unclean spirits were cured. Everyone in the crowd sought to touch him, because power came forth from him and healed them all. The Gospel of the Lord.
Let us now listen to a reflection on this passage by a Claretian missionary, Father Piotr Krakowicz.
Today's Gospel contains two parts. The first part narrates the calling of the 12 apostles. Jesus chose the 12 men out of his disciples to be his apostles. The second part speaks about the audience that is going to hear Jesus' sermon on the plain. The audience is composed of his many disciples and the great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon. They came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. We have already spoken on our podcast on the calling of the 12 apostles. What is unique to Luke is the fact that it happened after Jesus' prayer. It indicates that the choice was based on the whole night's conversation with God. Why them and not others, we shall never know. Why 12? It recalls the beginnings of Israel. Jacob had 12 sons, and the community of Israel was composed of the 12 tribes. Thus, with those 12 men, Jesus begins the renewal of Israel. Why were they chosen? To be eyewitnesses of everything they had experienced while being with Jesus, but particularly to testify to his resurrection. The second part of the Gospel speaks about Jesus' audience. The first mentioned is a great crowd of his disciples. This indicates that Jesus had many disciples among the people of Israel, and it shows the extent of his influence. But according to John, in the course of Jesus' proclamation, many of his disciples left him. The Gospel of John also mentions secret disciples of Jesus. The other group included in Jesus' audience came from all of Judea and Jerusalem. According to Luke, the post-resurrection proclamation of the Gospel began there. The inclusion of the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon is interesting. Those cities are presented in the Old Testament as enemies of the people of Israel. Their inclusion among the audience not only prepares the apostles for their mission among the Gentiles, but it is an example of loving one's enemies. We are called to preach the gospel also to our enemies. The proclamation of the gospel includes preaching, healing, and liberation from the power of evil forces. That is what we as the Church should always keep in mind.